What is going on, everyone? Jonathan here with the Venue RX podcast. And I am excited today after a long while of trying to get a hold of this very busy man here, finally able to sit down with Jarek Rozyskie from Hitched Marketing Company. Jarek, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jonathan. Really appreciate it.
So I love the name first, Hitched. It works perfectly with the wedding and events industry. And do you exclusively serve the wedding industry, events industry, both?
So we specifically work with wedding venues. And I think that's a really good point to point out there. Being, I was a sales manager at a wedding venue, we really understood the pains and struggles as the owners and operators of wedding venues. And, that's the service or that's the type of companies that we know that we can help. So it is specifically wedding venues as of now.
Amazing. I love the focus. A lot of times when you have a marketing company that tries to hit a very broad range of clients, you lose some of the fine touch and the detail that happens when you really focus and niche down.
Niche down and know what works in that one, in that one industry. Exactly.
How did you get into this? You said you mentioned operating venues. How did you get into doing this marketing for venues?
Yeah, great question. Whenever I just wanted to say, background as far as, marketing goes, I've been running Facebook ads, since I was 16 years old. And, I was doing e-commerce all over the place. And after high school, a family friend of ours, me and Hunter both, owned a wedding venue and said, hey, we need somebody to get us some more bookings. We know you did a little marketing. And we were like, okay, this is going to be great. We're going to do tours. We're going to get commission. We're about to become millionaires, right? Like that was our goal right there. Well, we showed up and that didn't really happen. And, they didn't have a website, didn't have a Facebook page, and we had to start with that. And we weren't getting the inquiries we wanted. We weren't getting the tours we wanted or the bookings. And, I finally said, okay, we need to resort back to, what I did previously and try to get it in the wedding industry as far as running Facebook ads. It could possibly help this wedding venue. Obviously, it's a different kind of niche. We had to find out what worked and what didn't. But eventually, we were able to get a lot of leads for this wedding venue. We were generating hundreds, $1 to $3 per new inquiry, right? And what the issue was we were getting all these inquiries, all these first name, last name, email, phone numbers, and they weren't, converting into tours and bookings at the venue. And we had, this secretary, she was like 70 plus years old, and we were getting all these leads. And whenever we weren't following up with her, whenever we were doing like a styled shoot or hosting tours or whatever, she wasn't following up with inquiries until hours after, we would get them, sometimes even days. Leads were falling in the cracks. And it was a real issue because I knew for a fact we weren't following up quick enough and we weren't following up with multiple points of contact. And we didn't have any system in place to make sure that leads weren't falling through the cracks. And so I knew, hey, what if we had some sort of system to automate this process for this venue so she wouldn't have to do that? We would get more tours, we would get more bookings. We did that. We added some automation and a light bulb, just hit like, okay, we could do this for wedding venues all across the country, all across the globe. And that's really where we got our start.
So what was the outcome then because it sounds like at first the problem was you didn't have enough tours, you didn't have the opportunity to even pitch the venue because you didn't have the tours coming in because maybe, there's no website or whatever. And then the problem evolved. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah. Problem definitely evolves. And I think it's important to break it down into those three sections. Obviously, it's super important to get leads, right? 100%, you got to get those first name, last name, email, phone numbers. We weren't driving those in. We didn't have any place to even draw any traffic to, right? But then it's the second issue. We were not converting them into tours. Furthermore, we weren't converting them into bookings. People weren't showing up for their tours, right? So we didn't have any sort of automated tour reminders, right? And then when somebody visited and, they didn't book on site that same day, they were basically, almost dead to us. We didn't have any sort of follow-up process to bring back those indecisive visitors. We had no sales pipeline. It was just all in an Excel sheet. And it was a huge mess. What started off as just, we needed to make a website. That didn't solve our problems. We needed to get more leads. We got more leads. That didn't solve the issues. And so then we needed a system to effectively nurture those leads and convert them into tours, and furthermore, bring back those indecisive visitors. And then that was just the all in one system there. So that was like the progressions of the problems there.
I feel like for any of our listeners right now who are either on the podcast or maybe tuning in on YouTube, maybe this sounds like a familiar problem. Maybe they have a website, they're generating leads, but they're not able to follow up quickly enough. Maybe it's just them. I mean, a lot of these venues are owner operated, so the same person who's wearing the hat of the sales and the admin side of things, they're doing sales, they're doing tours, so they're responsible for that entire process, and not having automation is really hurting them. How many people do you talk with now, as a part of Hitched Marketing who have this problem? Where do you generally connect with people in that process that you just talked about?
Well, I really connect with people, and it's just a general idea that they need more business and they need more bookings. And there's this huge idea that if you run Facebook ads, you're going to get these leads, and then you're going to get these leads, you're going to send them an email, and then they're going to come and tour and book at the venue, right? And the big disconnect here is where it becomes really eye-opening is, hey, there's a system where you do collect these leads, but then also incorporate a sales strategy that nurtures these leads, that follows up immediately with multiple points of contact. Most venues are responding 2-3 hours after they get a new inquiry. You are 50% more likely to have a successful sales conversation with somebody if you respond within 5 minutes compared to 1 hour, right? And that's just simply because we are in this world of instant gratification. This is just, I feel something out, I want it yesterday. And a lot of times the early bird gets the worm, right? And that's a huge disconnect for them because they're busy. They're hosting tours. They're doing all, their hands are so full, whether they have one sales team member or they, the owner is managing all of this. And then they kind of, we tell them, okay, with all, the leads that we're driving in, not only are they followed up with immediately going to increase your conversion rate, but we're also going to follow up with multiple points of contact using both text and email to pre-qualify your inquiry so that you never have to manually follow up with anybody until they express interest in scheduling a tour. And this is a huge point because we have a nurture sequence where the overall goal is to make it where you, like I said, never have to manually communicate until they know everything there is to need to know about your venue. They know your pricing. They know what's included. They know what's not included. They have frequently asked questions. They have every little bit of information they need to know about your venue. And because we send that out in that automation, and then our automation is going to pre-qualify them using personalized text and emails that lasts about a week and a half, multiple points of contact there. So venues are able to take their hands off. And the only time they have to step in is whenever that bride knows everything and they respond to the automation and express interest in getting that tour.
I love that you mentioned text. How important do you think text is in today's world?
Oh my gosh. Text
in our industry, right?
Oh yeah. Text is an absolute game changer in the sense that I want you to think about this. So stats show that 97% of people, they say 95% of people will open a text and read the text within 5 minutes of getting a text, right? And they say that 99% of people within 15 minutes of receiving a text will open and read that text message, right? Wow. And then you incorporate this idea that if you have a Mac, whenever you get a text message, I'm not only getting it, on my cell phone, it's showing it up on my Mac desktop, my MacBook, my Apple Watch. It's like multiple notifications in one. So as far as personalization goes and getting high open rates and high response rates, text is ultimately a good balance of text and email is going to be an absolute game changer in your conversion process.
I love that you brought that up. I think it's hilarious that sometimes as business owners, we don't use common sense, right? We get really in our head about everything and maybe at no fault of our own. We have got so many different things going on, so many irons in the fire, but then you're totally right. It's like, this makes sense. We're all on our phones all day and texts are the first things that get read. You're not scrolling through email.
And a lot of times, venue owners, going in and looking at the new lead, copying and pasting the phone number into your own phone. And then next thing you know, you're texting people on your own personal phone. It can just kind of get to where it's a complete mess there, which is why we also offer two-way conversations manager in the Hitched CRM system. Not going to bring that up.
Hey, there you go. Like a little side. I like that. So this product you've developed, it is an actual CRM system. Is that correct?
I like to, it is a CRM system. Absolutely. But more so on the aspect of sales. The system is designed to get you more bookings, not management, as in, signing contracts and, receiving payments. It's all sales driven.
Okay, amazing. So it's like something like a pipe drive in the sales system, or
yes, absolutely. But pipe drive times like a million.
Well, and specifically for the industry, because there's a lot of places where pipe drive fails out. Our industry is very specific, as you and anyone listening to this will know. So that's incredible.
Appreciate it. That's a really important point there. If you get pipe drive, you get Zoho, you get, Honeybook, there's all these elements that you have to incorporate on your own that you don't know if they're going to work. Whereas with our system, it's pre-built. Everything we know is proven to work, proven to increase your lead to tour conversion rate. And you don't have to touch anything. The automated messages are proven to get a 50% response rate. You don't have to touch a single thing. Whereas, with all the other CRMs, you have to manually go build these things, manually build all the automation, where you don't know if the automated text you're sending out, if it has a good conversion rate. What if I send out this message, is this going to get a response? Where this is pre-built, you just step right in and you start driving in tours and bookings.
That's super, super powerful. Yeah. So often with things like automations, because I know we use Honeybook and the automations are great and the workflows are fantastic, but yeah, you have to create those. You have to make them specific, and you don't really know a lot of times where along the line something's broken. It could be the message, to your point, or it could be the email or the image you're using on the Facebook ad, right? To go back there.
Absolutely.
So that's really incredible. So when you are talking to business owners then, and they're wanting to use your system, which type of venue? Is there a type of venue, or is there a venue that can most take advantage of what you offer currently?
So if are we hopping into, let me kind of, separate the Facebook ads and driving in the leads, right? And, if we're talking about the CRM system, there are, two kind of classifications there. But if we're talking the venue scaling system as a whole, a particular type of venue, I think it's always really, scaling any business. It's always important that you have a really high quality product or service, right? Where, and I don't want to sound super conceited here. And I don't want to be that guy, but I'm going to be. Okay. There are in the wedding industry, especially in the last, 10, 15 years, you have just seen a huge influx of saturation in a lot of wedding venues, or people, just sweeping out the shed in their backyard and starting to call it a wedding venue. And I'm not saying large majority, you do see it, and you see it almost everywhere. And they're charging $1,000 a wedding. It can get absolutely, it's just nuts. Whereas, scalability for those types of venues is in some ways limited, considering that they aren't providing the high quality service compared to some of their competitors. Not saying that they can't completely scale their business using automation, but whenever you start to scale past, what we're trying to do is get you 100 plus weddings a year. And, you don't have that high quality service to have 100 events a year, right? Then you're going to get in this standstill where you're providing a low quality service to a lot of people, and then you end up in a downfall of your business. So as long as if you provide a high quality service and you have at least hosted some weddings, so have a feel for what the wedding industry is like, and you're able to deliver on your promises to those brides, then your business is definitely scalable, and this system will 100% work for you.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. So it sounds like it's better for business owners using your Hitched marketing system and the HCRM product is better for more established businesses that are kind of have reached a baseline and they're looking to break through that ceiling because they don't have correct automations, correct workflows, systems, things like that. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do work with venues that are brand new, right? Like that's if as long as and if there's that high quality service there, then we're going to be able to scale it, and it's going to go absolutely, stupid. But as long as there's just that baseline experience of, owning and operating a wedding venue, just baseline, then, this system, that's really our audience there.
Amazing. When you look at business owners that you end up talking to, do you feel like there's a resistance to change typically?
That's a really good question. And as far as change goes, I think overall, whenever we paint it out in a way to help them understand that this is a proven system and that, changing with the times of responding immediately, right? We can get in Facebook ads in a little bit and how important that is, compared to, all the old traditional ways of advertising. They really are able to understand it with just the basic knowledge that the times have 1,000,000% changed. And, there is a new direction of marketing and sales for wedding venues that ultimately is going to transform and scale your entire business. And whenever I paint it out as in the incorporating in text and why you're incorporating text and the results that it's gotten, why you're following up immediately, why it's so important to follow up multiple times and not just send one email and then call it a dead lead, right? The picture is just so clear there. Whenever you're mentioning, how many times are you following up with an inquiry before you're like, oh, okay, I'm done? Busy venue owners, it's literally impossible to follow up. Even we follow up over 10 times. It's impossible to follow up 5 times doing it completely manual. It's so you'd have to have a schedule and somebody would have to be at the desk all day just going crazy. And whenever I ask them, how many times are you following up? And they're like, oh, we follow up once. We send one email on the Knot or Wedding Wire, and that's it. We hope they get back to us. And it's like, okay, they kind of start, okay, how many bookings have we left on the table? Because people are just busy. Whenever they fill something out, you fill out a inquiry on the Knot and a wedding, by the way, your people submit dozens and dozens an hour at a time on Wedding Wire and the Knot. They're just click happy. And they submit one to your venue and you take 3 hours to respond and you send one email. What are the odds of that person going, oh, I remember that and I'm going to go respond right away? It's slim to none. Mm-hmm. Whenever that picture is painted with the multiple points of contact and having the conversion to adapt with the times of people being busy and instant gratification, it's really, it's usually there's no resistance there. It's almost like, wow, we really need this. It would streamline our entire sales process because it does. It's amazing. I don't know.
Let's pivot. Let's talk about Wedding Wire and the Knot. Cause I think the established, like when you get into the wedding venue industry, you think about your building and then you think about your team, whoever your sales team is, then you think about, oh man, marketing, like what am I going to do for this? So, Google ads, Facebook ads are definitely awesome paid ways. But then as far as paid advertising goes, Wedding Pro, Wedding Wire and the Knot, Here Comes the Guide, Zola, some of these different places that have a presence, an SEO presence, really push themselves on new business owners to advertise on their platform. Do you feel like that is an effective way to advertise, or should you ever use them, those sites?
Okay, great question. I think that for some venues, Wedding Wire and the Knot definitely works. 1,000,000%. When it comes to scalability and, completely, getting past that 100 bookings threshold, Wedding Wire is extremely tight hold. Wedding Wire and the Knot are both extremely limited in that factor. And I can dive into that really all day. But what I kind of want to, and it'll kind of come together whenever we do talk about Facebook ads. And I don't necessarily want to, bash Wedding Wire and the Knot. Listen, so my biggest concern with Wedding Wire and the Knot and a lot of wedding venues, by the way, this is the status quo, right? Is that really, Wedding Wire and the Knot is not built for wedding venues. Although wedding venues might be the ones supplying, their money, paying them. It's not built for wedding venues. It's built for brides. Mm-hmm. And a big key point there is that brides are going onto these sites and they submit an inquiry to one wedding venue and immediately 6 of that venue's competitors pop up, and all they have to do is click one button and it'll submit an inquiry to 6 other wedding venues, right? 6 other and not only does this suck if you're the venue that they submitted, they went to your venue specifically and submitted an inquiry, all your competitors just got, blown up, right? But then it also sucks if you're on that list of 6 venues because they didn't even read your name and they submitted an inquiry to your venue. And then you're sitting there, you think you just got this new lead when in reality, and you're going to have to spend time manually following up with these inquiries. Right? We're going to have to spend time manually following up with these inquiries that just like saw your name on a list of 6 and clicked one button and submitted all of these. And what this does is, Wedding Wire, it's putting you against your competitors, right? But then it's also, Wedding Wire is not providing you that system to nurture. They don't integrate with any outside CRM systems. Got to find a way around that. And they don't allow you to have an effective sales process with them to where you're stuck manually following up with all of these inquiries. So you're not able to follow up effectively to maximize your opportunity to get them into booking or into tours and furthermore into bookings. That's main principle with Wedding Wire and the 9 why paid advertising is usually a much better direction as far as ad spend goes. If it's getting you bookings, I don't suggest cutting it, right? I always mention this, if you don't, obviously, our CRM is going to, whatever results you're getting with Wedding Wire and the Not Right Now, ours is going to increase that because we provide that sales system and that automation. But if you're getting bookings using it, that's fine. But if you're not at the booking threshold that you want to be at, it's for a reason. And that's really there is a change there, and there is 100% a proven direction for you to go that will, fill in that gap, if that makes sense.
I love that you mentioned that. I think that there is a trickle-down effect to operational costs because when you look at a venue, especially an established venue, that maybe they're realizing that they can make more money by not only increasing their revenue but also cutting expenses. And a huge expense is operations. If they have a team member who's in there whose job is to just follow up with these leads, and 60 to 80% of them are just junk leads, essentially, that clicked because you saw the word garden or barn or farm or ranch. And then they realize, oh no, you're a beer and wine only venue, or, no, I, want to be able to bring in my caterer. And this is not this is an all-inclusive venue. And so then you've got this person who's on payroll, who's filling out forms, trying to email back and forth, and you're just wasting your money.
Yeah. And that's really the point of that automation, right? That comes into that big picture. It's cutting labor and cost. And I'm not saying go fire all your salespeople. That's not what I'm saying at all, right? But what the point is that if you're a venue owner and you're doing all of this manual follow-up, you're spending so much time stuck in these menial tasks of copying and pasting emails all day, right? You're copying and pasting emails. You're sending emails in, hours after an inquiry comes in. You're not following up quick enough. You're leaving those bookings on the table, and you're spending all of your time doing these menial tasks that our system can 100% do for you. And it really takes it to a point where it's like, how much is your time worth? And how many bookings are you leaving on the table by not having that automation? And if you have a salesperson there, 1,000,000%, it doesn't matter. You have 3 salespeople. It is impossible to follow up effectively, immediately, with multiple points of contact, an effective way to get them to respond and schedule a tour at the venue. And all I'm saying is that their time can be allocated elsewhere, growing, the business in a different way. Whereas our system is designed to make it where they can take their hands off and they only have to manually communicate with those that are already know everything and they're interested in scheduling a tour. So cutting labor and cutting costs, right? That's just the huge thing there.
I want to ask you a question about automation, but first, let's go to Facebook, because we've been kind of dancing around the topic of Facebook ads. And that's definitely where you got your start. And definitely, as I'm hearing, first, just kind of a hot take. Do you prefer Facebook ads over Google ads, and why?
And that's a really good, my ultimate start was, with Facebook ads. We are, not going to give up too much intel there as far as incorporating other methods of advertising in our company. But my ultimate start and the silver bullet that for the venues that we work with is 1,000,000% Facebook ads. And as I am not necessarily a Google ads expert, very limited experience with the Google ads. I just know that with our Facebook ads, it absolutely kills it. We average anywhere from $1 to $3 per new inquiry, per new lead.
Well, and that's fantastic. I mean, that's great, especially because when you have a lead, these people are possibly spending anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. And if you're inclusive, and you maybe even more when you count in F&B. But the question, I guess I'm curious, when you're running an ad, because this is not just a boosted post, right?
Yeah. We can kind of dive into that, of course.
It's not a boosted post. You're actually doing, complex targeting. Do you feel like it's been a struggle with the changes that Facebook has made to the business manager?
iOS 14?
What's up?
Yeah. Like iOS 14,
exactly.
All that good stuff. And it's really quickly, I want to get the baseline down of why you should be advertising on Facebook and Instagram. We'll get into why, how to make them more profitable and how to really maximize your ROI using those things. Really is first off, being on Facebook and Instagram. Listen, your audience is on Facebook and Instagram. If your audience was not there, then we wouldn't advertise there. But right now, fortunately, this is where they're at. There's 1.59 billion daily active users on Facebook and Instagram, right? What this means is that your perfect bride are on these platforms and your competitors most likely are too. Right. So that's the big distinction there. And then as also you incorporate that with the detailed targeting algorithm that Facebook gives you, and you're able to allocate every single penny of your advertising budget towards your perfect audience, towards the perfect bride. And so it's basically a bullseye on every single throw. That means, if you're throwing it in a magazine, all sorts of people are seeing it. If you're on, Wedding Wire and The Knot, they're comparing you to your competitors. This is going directly at your audience. You're the only venue that they're seeing. And this is how you're able to do it in a really get leads at a really cost effective and efficient way. Then you incorporate that also with the tracking metrics, tracking all of your high interest users that come to your website, knowing who comes to your website, which pages they visit, how long they spend on your website, if they filled out a contact form. And then with Facebook ads, you're able to retarget those people. Even if they come from Google and go to your website, you're able to retarget those people on Facebook and Instagram to get them back to fill out that contact form, right? So that's what I think is really important about Facebook ads and why it's so cost effective, right?
I have a question about that, because I think a venue owner listening to this right now might say, okay, but I don't have a great idea of who my target market is. Like maybe they haven't invested a lot of time really understanding the nitty gritty of giving you the information. Maybe they know that an age range, but how do you establish that baseline to help you really target those dollars?
And I will say that's kind of where it gets to a point where that's why you hire somebody that's, spent $150,000 on ad spend last year, right? Like for wedding venues. That's why you do that, right? And so just a big point here is like, we all know who your perfect audience is. It's engaged couples 1,000,000%, right? It's engaged couples. Obviously, Facebook gives you the option to target and, engage couples. But believe me, there's other interests that oftentimes do perform better than just targeting those engaged couples, because not everybody marks their status as engaged on Facebook. So that's where, and I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of split testing different audiences and seeing what works and what doesn't, because we obviously do that. But starting off with the basics that you do advertise towards engaged couples, that is your 100% perfect audience. Facebook even, and by the way, that's the easiest part of running the ad is knowing like engaged couples, right? I can go on and on. I didn't even remember your question. Where should I go from that?
No. It's so true. Engaged couples, I think, establishes a baseline. But when you think about other, elements just to help you target, for a venue owner, looking at, the type of their ideal bride, understanding how they can target them instead of targeting someone else who wants, water features and they're a ranch that has no water in sight, let's just say.
Yeah. So for instance, whenever Facebook nowadays, whenever they do opt you into, to boost a Facebook post and you opt in that your Facebook page, your business type is a wedding venue, it's automatically going to prompt you, target engaged couples. So it's going to give you, that option, if that makes sense. And that's the big distinguish between, boosting Facebook posts and actually being in the ads manager and being able to have full control over everything. But I think it's a really good basis to just start off with that audience of engaged couples, because guess what? There are engaged couples in your area that have selected their status as being engaged. And these people 1,000,000% need to see your Facebook ads, right? Like they're looking for a wedding venue. They need to see your Facebook ads. By the way, we don't necessarily, big point here, the way the okay, listen. And there's more important things to the Facebook ads than right here, audience. Your audience is engaged couples. Let's dive into this. I want to kind of distinguish the pitfalls that most wedding venues make, especially when running, Facebook ads on their own, right? And the direct objectives you should have when running a Facebook ad, and how to make them more profitable, right? So whenever you're running a Facebook ad, our overall goal is to get more bookings, right? Like you're getting more bookings. I'm running Facebook ads. I want more tours. I want more bookings. There is a step in between that. It's not like somebody sees a Facebook ad and the call to action is book now, and they click it and they go put in their credit card, information and go book a wedding. Right? If that makes sense. Yes. So we need to focus on what our initial objective is. And that is going to be getting contact information. And this is not, I'll get into messenger campaigns. Don't run those. Okay. Anyways, listen, we're trying to get first name, last name, email, and phone number, because without those 4 things, you cannot truly classify that as a customer acquisition opportunity. Without those 4 things, you cannot follow up with effectively with both text and email and the nurturing right? So what is the best objective to do that? Well, with the Facebook algorithm, you're going to be and very simple. Even if you boost a post, it says, hey, do you want to get more link clicks? Do you want page likes? I don't know about you. I don't care about page likes. I don't care about post engagement. I want first name, last name, email, phone number. I don't care how many people are coming to just go look at the homepage of my website. I want first name, last name, email, phone number. And that is super important, because Facebook is going to, whenever you launch an ad with the lead gen, or whether it's lead gen or conversion, it's going to put that ad in front of people that are most likely to fill out their contact information, not people that are most likely to go click on your website, right? Mm-hmm. And what's really important here is, I see the biggest thing is a lot of venues run messenger campaigns, right? So Facebook is going to immediately put your ad in front of people that are going to click, send a message. And as soon as they click send a message, it can be an automated response. They can just say something to you. And what this does is one, you're only advertising people that are going to send you a Facebook message. This is a large assortment: wedding planners, coordinators, moms, bunch of, all over the place. Right. Whereas, and then also you get a Facebook message, boom, automatically you have to be manually communicating with these people. Obviously there's chat bots, all that good stuff. Shiny object syndrome, stay away from it. So a big point is that you did not get their first name, last name, email, phone number. The only way that you're going to be able to effectively follow up with those people is by sending a Facebook message. And I don't know about you, if anybody messages me X amount of times just through Facebook message, right, without using other means, then it's very weird, because it all stays in that little chat bubble. And then you run into people, a lot of venues having this clear objective saying, okay, whenever you click this button, you're going to be brought here to fill out your contact info, right? And you're going to receive something in return. Instead, I see a ton of venues just running like a traffic campaign where it's sending them to the website. Well, there's no clear objective there. They get to this website and they're like, now what? Whereas if you have a clear objective saying, hey, fill out your first name, last name, email, phone number, and you're going to get this in return, right? Now you give them all the information they need in order to decide whether they like your venue or not. And now you're able to follow up effectively and nurture them to convert them into a tour. And that's really big in having clear objectives in your Facebook ads and not being all over the place. Like whenever you click send a message, it's just, send a message. What happens from here? If that makes sense. Whereas go download a discount or something like that.
Jarek, that's really powerful. I think so many venues are not intentional. And I think that's really what you're getting at here. It's an intentionality behind a marketing strategy that takes them from wherever the lead is coming through. And as you've talked about, Wedding Wire and the Knot, it's just kind of the shotgun approach where you're just kind of hoping to hit something. Whereas with Facebook, you can be a lot more targeted and you can customize the client experience from the moment they're clicking on, getting off of Facebook, maybe onto your site, but having some intentionality there, not just redirecting them to the contact page of your website without any context. Absolutely.
Of course. And then also, Facebook's going to put your ad in front of people that are going to click to go to your website, not put in their first name, last name, email, phone number, right? Yeah. So you're going to be getting your wrong audience is going to be going to your website. And so that kind of just messes everything up right there. Facebook's algorithm is going to try to get you the desired result of the objective that you pick.
Got it. And then of course, you have the venue owners that are listening to this going, well, Facebook ads don't work. Facebook ads don't work. How many times have you heard that?
Oh, I've heard it plenty. And they say, that, and I don't blame them, I want to be really clear. I do not blame you if Facebook ads didn't work for you. Obviously, we eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff, and it's just, there is a large difference there with having, spending so much money on ad spend, finding out what works and what doesn't. The main point when somebody, says, Facebook ads didn't work, they said it didn't work for them in the past, or they hired a marketing company that had no prior experience working with wedding venues, and they get burnt by that. I just have to really sit back and everybody understands that their audience is there. And everybody understands that you can reach that audience on Facebook. It's just the effective way to do it that's going to be the biggest game changer in actually getting a massive ROI for your wedding venue, because Facebook ads is the most cost-effective and efficient way to drive in those leads.
Got it. Let's talk about automation in conclusion here, because we've been mentioning automation. You've been mentioning how the Hitched CRM system, has these different automated features. When you think about automation, because there's automation as a part of a lot of different project management tools and CRMs, from Dubsado to Asana to Honeybook to 17 Hats, all these different ones that give you automation and give you workflows. But how do you think as business owners, we can be more personal using automation? Because
great question.
It's just like, you just get this automated message and people are smart. They've been given, automated messages before. When it's a bot, when it's not a real human. How do you think about that?
Yeah. And that's usually a large objection. Like, oh, what are these automation? What do they consist of? I want to be really clear here. Any automation, especially in text, if it's robotic in any way, shape, or form, then you're almost guaranteed you're going to lose somebody. You're going to be still leaving bookings on the table. As far as, the personalization goes, saying whenever somebody comes in and, fills out a contact form, we send out a message automatically. We're sending out a text and email. Congratulations on your engagement. Here's that discount you requested. Here's that information that you requested, right? But at that point, what if somebody downloads it at 3:00 in the morning? You ever think about that? Somebody downloads a contact form at 3 a.m. and they get text messages and it's like, boom, automatically that's a bot. Right? Like that was, obviously this venue owner is not sitting in the room and sending messages within 1 minute of me filling in an inquiry at 3:00 in the morning. So it's so important that we give them that information, right? And then now we're sending them detailed, personalized messages that are qualifying them, asking them questions. Hey, Karen, what's your estimated guest count for your wedding? Hope to chat soon, very personalized there. If they don't respond to that message, we send out an email a day later, only within business hours, right? And then after that, we're sending out a text message, sending pictures, saying, hey, a few pictures of the venue. We would love to chat with you more. Did you get these pictures that I sent you? That's a big one. Hey, did you get the pictures that I sent over to you? And you'd be surprised, people at the very end of the automation, it's like latch ditch effort. We're sending a text, asking them to schedule a tour just directly. and this is a while after, you'd be surprised how many people go a full week, 2 weeks after filling out that contact form, get a message that's like, hey, we'd love to have you come out for a tour. And they're like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I did not get back to you, Karen. Seriously, you've texted me so much and I just forgot to get back to you. I'd love to schedule a tour. And it's like, if we didn't have this automation in place, this venue would have lost out on this booking. One, and also it's so incredibly personalized that they're apologizing to an automated nurture sequence, right? Mm-hmm. So if your automation isn't proven to work, you don't have the right copy. The copy is just incredibly important. If the timing is wrong, then that's going to prove that it's an automation, right? If you're sending out, hey, do you have a guest count? Then that right away, they're going to know, oh, I got that 1 minute after submitting the inquiry. They know it's not an actual person. So the timing is important. If they think it's a robot, then you're not going to be able to nurture these brides properly. Super personalized, especially in the wedding industry.
Love it. Jarek, well, thank you so much. This has been just packed with value. I mean, we talked about so many different topics in this, and I'm hoping people will go and rewind and take a look at it. If people are interested in checking out Hitched Marketing, working with you guys, just checking out more about you, your partner, Hunter, correct? Who you're co-founder. Where can they connect with you guys?
Yeah, so you can reach out to us on Facebook, LinkedIn. My name's Jarek Rozyskie. We'll have the name here. But also, we can, I'm pretty sure we can drop a link there. We kind of host, these strategy sessions where we take a look at the ins and outs of your business and what you're currently doing, how you're currently advertising, what your sales process looks like. And in this strategy session, if you're interested, kind of, implementing the practices that we kind of talked about, then we'll discuss that further with you.
Yeah, definitely. We'll put a link to all that in the description of the YouTube video. If you're listening on any of the podcast platforms, we'll put in the description there too, but head on over to our YouTube. You can see Jarek's handsome face, get more connected in with us. And I really appreciate you listening here on the Venue RX podcast. It's been fun. We'll see you in the next episode.